The Little Match Girl. On a bitterly cold New Year's Eve, the streets of the town were filled with bustling people, but none noticed the little girl. Her bare feet, red from the cold, left imprints in the snow as she wandered aimlessly. Clutched in her small, trembling hands were matches she hoped to sell, but no one cared to stop. She was hungry, exhausted, and without a place to go, but the world seemed too busy to even glance at her. With the freezing air biting at her skin, she struck the first match in desperation. As the match flared to life, a warm and welcoming light filled her eyes. In the light of the flickering flame, she saw a cozy stove, glowing with heat. She could almost feel the warmth from the stove, the aroma of roasting meat filling the air, but it disappeared as quickly as the match burned out. The vision vanished into thin air, leaving her alone in the cold once again. The little match girl sat there, feeling the harshness of the winter air around her. Her legs ached from standing for so long, and her stomach growled with hunger. No matter how hard she tried, she could not escape the biting cold of the street. She struck another match, hoping for another vision of warmth. This time, in the soft glow of the match, she saw a grand feast laid out before her. Golden roast goose, warm bread, and sparkling wine. She could almost taste the savory meat and feel the warmth of the fire from the hearth. Her mouth watered and her heart ached, but as before, the vision disappeared when the match burned out. As the warmth of the feast vanished, the little girl felt emptier than before. Her surroundings were still filled with the cold silence of the street, and the harsh winter winds made it difficult to even think. She wished for a moment of warmth, but all she had were the fleeting images from the matches. Her heart sank as she realized how far away that warmth really was. Determined to hold on to hope, the girl lit yet another match. This time, she saw a beautiful Christmas tree adorned with candles, glittering ornaments, and colorful lights. The tree was magnificent, and beneath it lay piles of presents wrapped in shiny paper. She could almost smell the pine and feel the joy of a family celebration, but the match burned out too quickly. The beautiful tree vanished as the match flickered and died. The little girl stared at the empty space where the tree had been, feeling more alone than ever. The warmth, the decorations, the joy, all gone in an instant. She hugged her knees tighter, hoping the cold would retreat, but it only seemed to grow stronger. In one last attempt to escape the harsh reality, she struck the final match. This time, something truly magical happened. From the soft glow, her grandmother appeared before her, smiling gently. The old woman, whose love had always been her refuge, held out her arms, and the little girl could feel the warmth of her embrace. Her grandmother, glowing with a soft, heavenly light, wrapped the girl in her loving arms. "Come with me, child," she whispered. "You will be safe now." The little girl felt a peace she had never known before, free from the cold and hunger. For the first time, she felt loved and cared for, no longer burdened by the cruel world around her. The little match girl and her grandmother slowly rose into the air, floating away from the cold streets below. The snowflakes danced around them as the little girl gazed down at the world she had once known. She no longer felt fear or sorrow, only a gentle sense of wonder. Together, they ascended higher and higher, leaving the painful world behind. The next morning, the city awoke to a quiet, peaceful New Year's Day. The streets were as cold as ever, but no one noticed the little girl lying peacefully in the snow. Her body, still and silent, had left this world. The morning sun shone softly on her face, casting a glow that made it seem as though she had never been alone. A wealthy man, strolling down the street, noticed the little girl lying there. He furrowed his brow in sympathy, muttering, "Poor thing," but quickly moved on with his busy day. He could not fathom the peace she had found, nor the journey she had just completed. He continued walking, his world unaffected by the little girl's fate. The townspeople, wrapped in their warm coats, passed by without a second thought. They murmured to each other about the poor child, but soon forgot her existence. Life went on for them, unchanged and indifferent. They were too busy with their own concerns to even think about the little match girl who had left the world in search of warmth. Far above the town, the little match girl was surrounded by golden light, her grandmother by her side. The cold and harsh world were behind her, and she felt a deep sense of peace. She no longer feared the darkness or the cold. Instead, she basked in the gentle warmth of love and light. Her heart was at last free from all sorrow. The little match girl and her grandmother had found a home together in the heavens. There were no more harsh winters, no more hunger, just endless warmth and joy. They sat together, surrounded by soft clouds and a beautiful golden light that never faded. The girl smiled, knowing that she was finally safe and loved. It was Christmas Eve, and the stars in the sky shimmered in honor of the little match girl. The sky seemed to glow brighter than ever before, as though the whole world had remembered her sacrifice. In her new home, the girl was filled with peace, knowing that the love she had longed for would never fade. The Christmas spirit filled the air, and she was finally part of it. The city below remained silent and cold, untouched by the magic of the little match girl's journey. The people walked on, oblivious to the bright light in the sky that had once belonged to her. But the stars twinkled a little brighter that night, as though remembering the girl who had brought light to the darkness. In the peaceful glow of heaven, the little match girl let go of all her earthly pain. Her dreams were no longer filled with hunger or cold, but with warmth, love, and light. She felt her spirit lift, floating freely in the heavenly light. The harsh world had faded away, leaving only peace and eternal happiness. As time passed, the little match girl's story became a faint whisper, carried by the wind. Yet her legacy remained in the hearts of those who had heard her tale. People began to open their hearts to those in need, remembering the little girl who had taught them the true meaning of compassion. Her spirit lived on in the kindness that touched the lives of others. Town slowly changed. The wealthy, once indifferent to the poor, began to help those in need. The streets, once cold and unforgiving, became warmer with acts of kindness and love. The little match girl's story had ignited a fire in the hearts of many, a fire that would never be extinguished. High in the sky, the little match girl's light continued to shine. She had found a place of peace, and her glowing presence inspired the world below. The stars sparkled more brightly every year, as if in memory of the little girl who had endured so much and found peace at last. At the end of her journey, the little match girl rested in eternal peace, embraced by love and light. The world had been harsh, but she had found her refuge in heaven, where there was no cold, no hunger, and no pain. The story of the little match girl would continue to inspire generations, teaching them that even in the darkest times, there is always the possibility of warmth and light.